G'day listeners, welcome to our very first episode of West Busso AirWaves, our new student-led podcast. On this podcast, you'll hear all about our school from various perspectives, exploring events, achievements and personal stories that shape our community. I'm Gracie.
And I'm Stella. Today's segment is Beyond the Bell. This segment is about connecting with our wider community. We'll interview former students, chat with Year 6 students about their upcoming transition into high school, and dive into conversations with other members of our school community. It's all about discovering the journeys that have woven the fabric of West Busselton Primary School.
We're thrilled to introduce a very special guest to our inaugural episode, Miss Debbie Cotton. Miss Cotton has been a part of West Busselton Primary as a student, parent, and now as a valued staff member.
Her unique perspective will give us a diverse view of our school's evolution over the decades. So let's get started and welcome Mrs. Debbie Cotton to West Busso AirWaves. Thank you for joining us today on Beyond the Bell.
Mrs. Cotton, let's start from the beginning. Could you please tell us a bit what it was like when you were a student here at West Busselton Primary?
I started here in 1966 and the school had been here 1 year. We had 7 classrooms. Where this office area is now was used to be part of the office and toilets, similar to what you've got, and then we had our library on the left-hand side. My first teacher here was Miss Sheehy. She was a grade 1 teacher. I stayed here till I did all my formal years of school here from grade 1 to grade 7. My principal was Mr. Grapes until grade 6, and then in grade 7 I had a new principal similar to you guys, and his name was Mr. Smart.
What changes have you seen in the school's environment since you were a student?
A lot. There has been a lot of changes, good changes though. Your school has grown enormously. You have we had no room 15, 16, no pre-primaries. You never had your undercover area like it is now. There's been a huge progress. I did 10 years on the P&C. That was huge too. We did a lot of changes in that 10 years. I think you've got a great school here, guys. I love working here. I love all you guys too. You do a great job to the school as well. And so what would be your next question you'd like to ask?
Okay. Thank you for that. Can you please share one of your favourite memories from your time as a student at our school?
Would probably be year 7. I think would probably be my highlighted year. I had a great teacher and we had a great headmaster, a new headmaster, so it was a really great year. We didn't do camps like you guys, but we used to be able to have a sleepover here one night, which was awesome. And I don't think I've ever forgotten that because that was our way of saying goodbye to everybody before we went to high school.
Thank you for that. What was one tradition or event from your school days that you really enjoyed or remember clearly?
Probably our sports days, and they're just as important as what they are to you guys today. It was a huge day and it was always a great day. It was lots of fun, lots of activities. We did it very similar to what you do it today, so it hasn't changed much, but that would probably be my one thing I thoroughly enjoyed every year was participating and being in the sport with all the sports that were happening.
What were some of your favourite subjects or activities when you were a student?
I'd say I loved maths most. I enjoyed maths and I think it was something I was quite good at, so I was able to do that. And I just enjoyed school. I was never one that, I lived on a farm, so I had to travel to school every day. It wasn't like I walked up the road, but I loved coming to school. I never found school a chore. I enjoyed it. I think that's probably the best way I can describe it to you.
What a very good answer. Were there any teachers who had a big impact on you? What made them special?
I'd say in my early years, I had a lovely teacher called, I think I mentioned her name, Miss Sheehy. She was my first teacher I ever had. I built a wonderful rapport with her. I enjoyed being with her. And then when I was in grade 5, I had a teacher called Mr. Taylor, and I really formed a great relationship with him. And I think you will find that through life. You have some teachers that you really gel with and others that you do gel with, but not at the same level, if that makes sense. But they were probably my favourite 2 teachers.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Gracie and Stella. Hi, I'm Daniel, and joining me is Ollie H. We'll continue exploring Mrs. Cotton's journey through her time as a parent at our school.
What was it like sending your own children to the same school you attended?
I found that really wonderful, actually. I thought that was a great role to be able to take my children to the same school I went to. Again, the school had changed a lot by the time my children started school here. Both my children started here at pre-primary. We didn't have a kindy back those days either. It was just pre-primary. So they both started here and they both went through the whole of their schooling years to high school. And those days it was to year 7. So they did 8 years here, both of my children.
Did your children have any of the same teachers you had?
Yes, they did. And one of them is Mrs. Sullivan, and she's still here today, and Miss Bradford, and she's still with us today.
How do you think the school helped shape your children's education and values?
Oh, very much so, actually. You've got good standings in the school, guys. You're very lucky. I have worked in a lot of other schools, so I can actually say you are very lucky to be where you are. For my 2 children, it was a great experience for them. They both academically did very well here. My daughter's now gone on to be a speech pathologist and my son's got a business degree. So all this early education started their careers for them in life. Again, they had a wonderful time here. I think they'd both reflect, if they were sitting here now, would tell you that they thoroughly enjoyed their time at the school as well.
Were there any major changes in the school between when you were a student and when your kids were here?
Very much so. The school grew a lot. Like, I'm talking probably building-wise, it started to grow because we got our library. As I said, we got the preschool started. The undercover area was built in. There was lots of changes in that time, and also in education too, because when I went to school, I think Mr. Rutz will know what I'm talking about, I got taught phonetically how to learn, and that changed when my children came to school, so it was done more by sounds. So it was a very different way of being taught, but same technique, they same got the best results.
Can you share a memorable moment involving your children at the school?
I think year 7 for my son was probably one of the highlights at the assembly. When my son first started school, he had quite a few issues with fine motor skills, which means scissors, things like that. And to see him stand there at year 7 and he got the Citizenship Award, and I don't think I'd ever could be a prouder parent to think that he had overcome a lot of obstacles, but turned out to be quite well at the end of it all. So that would probably be my highlight.
Can you tell us about your son who went to Bali for the school camp?
Certainly can. He was in year 7, and what happened was we had a wonderful teacher here. He was a teacher as well as your Indonesian teacher, Mr. Denham, and he decided, because of his dealings with Bali, that he could actually organise a school trip. So there were so many students from here, from Vass and Dunsborough, were collated together, and I was very fortunate as a parent to be invited as well, so I got to go to Bali as well, and we went over there for 1 week. And I tell you what, I think it's probably one of the best experiences for my son. I think if he was here, he'd tell you the same, to see how they live. And but it was a great experience. We went to their school and saw how they were being taught. We also got invited up into the mountains to where they lived. So we went and had a meal with them in their home. So as far as I was concerned, it was a wonderful experience. And yes, it did happen. I don't think it ever happened again, unfortunately, because laws made it very hard for you to be able to take children and be safe, if that makes sense.
All right, everyone, it's bonus quiz time. Let's have a bit of fun with the quiz to see how well Mrs. Cotton remembers the school history and changes over the years. Mrs. Cotton, are you ready?
Yes.
Can you guess the year when the new library was built?
You might have got me on this one. It wasn't here when I left. Which library are you talking about, though? Because there's been 2 libraries built here.
The one near the Oval.
The one that stands today. Yeah. I can tell you when the old one was put further down. Room 15 and 16 used to be our library too when my children were here. So where you guys are in class now, that used to be the library. My sister was here nearly 23 years, and 21 of those she was the librarian. Can I have a guess?
Yes.
I'd say it's in the early 2000s.
Actually, we don't know the answer to that question. We'll get back to you soon and try to tell you the correct answer.
Have there been any students from West Busselton who went on to become famous?
Do you mean when I was at school or my children were at school?
Anytime?
I suppose when you say famous, how famous, what do you mean, a movie star, or you're talking about someone becoming a politician?
Well, anything.
Anything? Yeah, well, one of our politicians actually went to school here. I won't name, that's not the right thing to do, but one of our leading politicians, not anymore, but actually went to school here, yes, definitely.
What was one piece of technology that was cutting edge when you were a student here?
Technology. I'd probably say go back to how we were taught, because we didn't have computers. Everything was done by blackboard. You never had a whiteboard, it was a blackboard. Everything was functioned from there, and we were taught to phonetically. What that means is we had to repeat everything we did. You read the same book over and over. If you got a word wrong, you had to go home and spell it 50 times until you got that word right. That's how I was taught at school, very differently than how you're taught today.
Was Mr. Adair the principal when you were a student? If
No.
not, do you remember who was?
Yeah. My first 6 years was Mr. Grapes, and my last year was Mr. Smart. And he was also my teacher in grade 7.
Has our motto always been believing in achieving?
No. I can't say what year that came through, but that wasn't the logo when I first started here, no.
Thanks, Daniel and Oliver H. Hello, everyone. I'm Stella, and with me is Flossie. We're excited to explore Mrs. Cotton's experience as a staff member here at West Busselton.
What made you decide to work at West Busselton Primary School?
My story is I'd been 18 years in one job and the business shut down, so I was made redundant and I had to look for something new in life, and I went and started to do work experience in the schools, found out I really loved what I was doing. And Mrs. Francis contacted me one day because I put my name down to do relief work, and that's how I started to come through the door here. And then I've been able to have a couple of years here with contracts. But I just enjoy working with you guys most of all. You guys was what makes the school.
What a wonderful answer. How has your experience as a student and parent influenced your role as a staff member?
That's a hard question, actually. It has a lot to do with it because you know what your children have been given, the opportunities, and I suppose, and I've seen how much they grew here, and that to me, I like to see that you guys achieve the same things, and I like to think I'm always here if you ever need someone to talk to or care for. That's what my job is. I'm your first aid person you come to, and that's my role here. So does that sort of answer the question for you?
Yes, it does.
What are some of the biggest changes you've seen at the school over the years?
I think, again, it has to come back to size, the number of students here. Like when I first started, we had 7 classrooms and we probably would have had 20 children, if that, in each class. So there was only probably about 130, 140 children here. We have now got over 350 students. So that would be it'd be the size and the amount of students that are here.
Can you describe a typical day as your role as a school officer?
Yes, I come in here at 8. Start time is 8, but I always get here early. I'm a person that likes to be organised. I have to do reports in the morning. I get those done. Then I make sure you guys all arrive safely. We do another count of heads around about 9:20, and we do another report. When I say the report, it goes through to Compass, which is what runs our school, and that tells us that you've arrived, you're safely at school, and that lets parents know that you're here safely as well. And then my job then is to follow up why children are not at school. And that's part of my next role. And then I'm here to support the deputies and the principal and Mrs. Francis. That's my role.
What do you enjoy most about working at the front desk?
It's the interaction with everybody. I love meeting and greeting people. I enjoy it. We have some wonderful parents that come in and they always love to have a chat. I think that's my fun part, is the meet and greet with everyone at the front.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Beyond the Bell, part of the West Busso AirWaves, our new student-led podcast.
And thank you, Mrs. Cotton, for sharing your incredible stories with us. It's been truly educational to hear about the different eras of our school from someone who's experienced it as a student, parent and staff member.
Here's what you can look forward to in upcoming episodes. In the Learning Lounge, we will dive into Accelerated Reader Program, exploring how it enhances our learning environment. You will hear directly from both teachers and students about their experiences with AR.
Then on, the Schoolyard Scoop. Get ready for a colourful and vibrant episode as we cover Asia Day, happening in week 8. Expect exciting stories and interviews with event organisers and live coverage of the festivities. It's a cultural celebration you won't want to miss.
And we'll be back with more Beyond the Bell next term, focusing on the Year 6 transition into high school. We plan to include conversations with current students and those who have recently graduating, providing a well-rounded perspective on this very important part in our lives.
Keep listening and keep learning with us here at West Busso AirWaves. If you have stories or events you'd like us to explore, please let us know. We love including your insights and contributions in our podcast.
And remember, keep believing and achieving!